celebrating across difference. That's what this film is all about, where we profile people, primarily Black minority ethnic of African or African Caribbean origin, so that you are aware what success looks like and that journey and the hurdles that they've had to overcome to be who they are today. And I've got sat next to me, would you believe it, yet another powerful, significant achiever. And yes, as you can see, a person of colour, Dr. Jack Beula.
Good afternoon, Doirean.
Good afternoon. What a lovely day.
Gorgeous, wonderful, effervescent, warm, and not the time to socially distance, as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely. But, hey. And you're wearing the right colour for it as well.
Thank you so much.
Now, Jack, as you know, the film is about celebrating across differences.
Okay.
And you are one of the figures that I identified. Definitely I have to profile for this film.
Thank you very much.
And to share insight to you, the person, your work, your hopes, your ambitions, and to also tell me how you got here today. So in order to conclude with that, I'm going to work backwards.
Okay.
Tell me. You can go back as far as you feel is relevant.
Okay. I don't think my date of birth is relevant for this interview. However, I was born in the 60s. I'm a descendant of the Windrush generation that's now been labelled.
Yes. Where did your parents come from?
My parents came from Jamaica. And their parents came from Jamaica, and their great-great-great-parents came from Africa. So I'm a quintessential biological Pan-African,
yes.
African Caribbean called. But okay, in all seriousness, I was born in West London, St Mary's Hospital. Grew up in West London, and I initially invoked in a career in music. I worked with a number of well-known names, George Michael, Jazzy B,
Wow.
Seal, to name a few.
They are biggies.
And they are quite big names. Unfortunately, I didn't quite have the success that they had. But anyway, I, perhaps a bit disillusioned with the music industry, started to teach music, and then found myself wanting to work with young people in a more professional capacity, and that took me into a career called social work.
Right.
And it was while I was in social work that I stumbled into this concept called Nubian Jack, which I'm happy to tell you a little bit about.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Please do.
Okay, so...
Let's start with the name,
Okay.
Nubian.
Yes.
Because you shouldn't take for granted everybody knows what it means.
Okay, so Nubian is like a culture. There's a culture in south of Egypt called Nubia, and it's also colloquially referenced as black. So Nubian means black, and Jack, of course, means flag, as most people know. So the Union Jack is the Union flag,
Yes.
and Nubian Jack is black flag. But Jack also means to uplift, like you jack up a car, and Jack has some very positive connotations. But my name, I was born John, and John and Jack are interchangeable.
Yes.
So Nubian Jack became Black Jack, became me in many respects. But of course, it's much bigger than me.
Excellent. That was well explained.
Thank you.
Okay, so you began, and I remember many, many years ago, your first edition of your
Yes.
Nubian Jack game.
Yes.
And that game was very unique because
Thank you.
it's very similar to Trivial Pursuit.
Yeah, it's
if
been
everybody
described
knows
as the Black Trivial Pursuit, something
Yes.
I have come to become accepting of, but it's frankly nothing
It's
like
not. It's nothing like
nothing
it.
like Trivial Pursuit at all.
But, you know, just for the sake of viewers.
For the
so
sake
they
of to
can
explain,
understand.
it's the pursuit of knowledge, just like Trivial Pursuit, but the difference is that our pursuit is not trivial. It's heritage-wise, it's entertaining, educational, historical, and it's reprogrammable. So, in fact, I have one here.
You have one here.
This is a later edition, of course.
Wow.
I've produced 6 editions to date. I've sold 120,000 copies in 10 years. I have
Across the world.
Across the world, mainly in the UK, to be fair, but I sold some in the United States, and available from all good booksellers and game sellers.
Fantastic.
Nubian Jack.
So how much would that retail for?
This will retail for $29.99. This in itself is a collector's item, so all my former editions are now collectible items or collector's items. So this in itself might set you back 200-300 quid, frankly.
Fantastic.
Yeah, but
what
generally,
I should say that to camera that the game, and you
Yes.
also have a fact book, shares insight to the successes and the achievements and the creations of black minority ethnic individuals across the globe, which is fabulous. That's something that's really missing and is also weak in the curriculum, whether it's school, college or university. So we all need to know that.
Indeed. Funny enough, here's one I prepared earlier.
There you
This
go.
is Nubian Jack's Book of World Facts. It was published by HarperCollins. You can get this online. This is available online. And it's also colloquially known as the Truth with Proof. As Dr. Doirean has said, it gives you a number of wonderful facts and statistics and historical information, but it comes with the proof where it can be substantiated. So if we reckon there's 2 Black Queens of England, which I'm sure you know, Doirean,
Indeed.
we substantiate that fact with 4 different independent reference sources.
Fantastic.
If we claim Michael Jackson was the king of pop, we substantiate that with 4 separate independent references. So it's a truth with proof. It's the only one of its type on the planet. Go get yourself a copy.
And I have that book as part of my curriculum. It's one of the recommended reading materials for my Equality, Diversity and Inclusion final year undergraduate module.
Fantastic.
So it's great. We also play the game in class, and it's amazing how informed the students become, and they remember the facts, which is important.
It's very important because also when you're dealing with educating a group of people en masse, a lot of that information is already in books, is online, you know, but I wanted to put it in a format which was bite-sized, small chunks, and in a game setting which is entertaining and fun and exciting, and we've dubbed it edutainment, which is which is our game, the dazzling edutainment game.
Absolutely fantastic. Now, tell me about Nubian Jack,
Yes.
the community trust, and
Okay.
what the trust does.
All right, wonderful. So in 2008, I, to produce board games and distribute them en masse does take a lot of resources because you're producing a product. And I decided I wanted to produce services and I wanted to have long-lasting legacies of our contribution to Britain's common cultural heritage. So I started a Plaque scheme, which is called the Newan Jack Community Trust. And what we do is we memorialise the African presence in Britain by erecting plaques and statues on various sites and addresses connected with people in Britain. We have some very high profile plaques, one of which is on the Foreign Office. We have a plaque on the Foreign Office,
Fantastic.
which is amazing, I have to say. It is Britain's highest profile plaque. It's the only black plaque in Whitehall, and that is to a man called Ignatius Sancho. For those of
Right.
you who don't know, Ignatius Sancho is, go and look him up. He was an abolitionist, he was a
Yes.
writer, a man of letters, a remarkable man. We have produced, I'm going to give you information so you can edit it down, all
Yes,
right? So I'm going to
yes.
give you more than you need. Okay, so we have, sorry, I'll let you ask the next question.
No, please.
Okay.
I want to hear about some of the other profile people or people that the rest of the world wouldn't perhaps
Okay.
know about that
So
you've commemorated.
there are a number of people we are going to commemorate, which is I will come on to later. But so far we've commemorated everybody from, like I said, from Bob Marley to Claudia Jones, from the New Crossfire to the person who discovered Mary Seacole.
Mary Seacole, yes.
I have 51 plaques, and they're like songs that I write.
Am I also, sorry to interrupt, am I also correct when I state that you produced, Nubian Jack produced the largest blue
There you
plaque
go.
in the world?
That would have slipped my mind. We have the largest blue plaque in the world, on the planet. I think in the universe, if I'm not mistaken. We'll have to see if there's some other planet that's got a large blue plaque. But
And
as it
that's-
stands at the moment, we have the largest blue plaque in the universe.
Which commemorates?
Which commemorates 70 Notting Hill Carnival pioneers, people who have made an outstanding contribution to Britain's largest cultural festival, not largest street festival as they like to define it, but it's the largest cultural festival in Europe, which generates, I think, 100 million over 2 days,
Wow.
over a weekend. So it's an awesome legacy, but those people have not been recognised. So we thought we would highlight them in a 7-foot plaque with 70 names to highlight the 7 decades of the African presence in the UK.
That's fantastic. Now
Well,
tell me
let
about...
me just rephrase that. More than 70, but since
More
the
than 70.
Since the Windrush, you know, the so-called flagship of our mass migration to the UK, 7 is the number I kind of reference. So it's a 7-foot
great.
plaque with 70 names.
Now tell me about the upcoming project.
Okay, so the next plaque is to a man called William Cuffy. A lot of people don't know William Cuffy. Do you know, Doirean?
I've heard the name.
Okay, I'll tell you. I'll
Ghanaian
elaborate.
origin?
He was born over here. His father was, I believe, born in St. Kitts.
Okay.
He wasn't enslaved, which is wonderful, because we're talking, his father came here in 1778.
Wow.
As a free person. He worked on the ships, and he worked in Chatham Dockyard in Kent, Medway, Kent. And he had a child whose name was William Cuffy. And William Cuffy was a tailor, but he also was one of the founders of the London Chartist movement.
Really?
And for those who don't know, the London Chartist movement is the precursor to the Labour Party. And we are going to honour that black man and educate the UK.
I bet you didn't know that.
I bet they didn't. Guess what? It's in my board game. So if you'd bought the board game, you would have known.
That's amazing.
It's not really amazing. I mean, it's amazing when you don't know, Doirean.
When you don't know.
When you don't know. But it's frankly, we
true,
are...
But we should know.
We should know, but we're also having to decode the zeitgeist that things are amazing when frankly they just are. They're just things that happen. And when we get into a mindset of exceptionalism, which is very dangerous because everyone is exceptional, the first to do this, the first to do that, it is... I mean, I do understand we need to do that. I myself alluded to that in the board game, like 2 Black Queens of England. You know, people cannot compute. There was Queens of Colour that was on this throne, on this
Queen Charlotte was one of those?
Queen Charlotte was the second. Do you know the first? It's
I
in
do, but I can't
Dorian's
remember the
game
second.
because it's in the book.
It's in the book.
There you go.
It's in the book.
It's in the book.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
But you have a statue that you're
Indeed.
going to, a
Right.
commemorative statue. Can you tell us about that?
At the moment, after this interview, I'm going to go to Windrush Square, where a reparations march happens every 1st of August. For those of you who don't know, there are things to be repaired, and African people are trying to bring that as an agenda for governments all over the world to recognise, because most groups who are disenfranchised or have been dehumanised in one way or the other always have a way of being recompensed through a form of reparations or another. Unfortunately, at this moment in time, we have not yet been given our due share. But I do understand, because that will happen, and it will. This is all part of the evolutionary process. So on that square, there is a war memorial to soldiers who served in World War I and World War II. It's the central piece of Windrush Square in Brixton. And as those of you who know, Brixton is the cultural capital of Black Europe. And right in the cultural capital of Black Europe is the most beautiful square and the most beautiful design that adorns the square.
Absolutely.
And that's where we'll be going after that. So that's one statue, and that was endorsed by Her Majesty the Queen, and some wonderful people, including your wonderful self, were very supportive in that installation. So thank you very much, Dr. Doirean.
Oh, thank you
Professor.
for inviting me.
Absolutely. We're going to be honouring black nurses from the Windrush generation, the Commonwealth, that have served this country as well since 1948 and before. And the foundation of the NHS was in 1948.
That's right. And where is that statue
That's going to be at
erected?
Whittington, outside Whittington Hospital in Archway.
Fantastic.
In October this year, God willing.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So, Jack, tell me, what drives you?
He's got a cap, he's got a decent BMW, and he drives me back and forth. But there you go.
Apart from him.
Apart from him, of course, yeah. To be honest with you, I said to you this offline, I'm a creative person, and I have fortunately found an outlet for my creativity, which used to be music. I love music, I like writing, I love creating, composing, and my board game and my books and the apps and all the different things that I do are just outlets for these creativity to be channeled in.
Now, you know, a lot of yous are out there, so-called disaffected yous. I don't believe in it. Yes, I know it exists, but everyone has potential. Now, if you could communicate a message to them that would inspire and motivate them, what message would that be?
Follow your dream, follow your heart. Don't let anybody. I mean, it's the usual cliche. You just got to keep going. Obviously, you're going to get knocked back. Whatever culture, gender you are. If you're a white guy trying to help, I don't know, Aboriginal people, they'll get knocked back, because there's going to be people say you shouldn't be doing that, you can't do that. Equally, if you're a brother or a sister trying to make inways in certain industries, you're going to get knocked back. So you've got to believe in yourself and take people along with you. You've got to be an innovator, a pioneer. You've got to go through adversity. You've got to be resilient. You've got to be able to get up. You've got to do what that boxer, Tyson Fury, did. When he was knocked, sparked out, dead, gone, buried, ready to go. We were all ready to switch off TV. And suddenly this guy rose up like a robotic, zombie, and came back and frankly, gave a very good account of himself. My point is, that's the character you need in life to achieve and succeed in anything. You have to have the ability to be resilient.
Resilience, most
Indeed.
definitely.
Yeah.
Bishop Dr. Esme Beswick MBE, that is a very loaded title, and it speaks volumes. It tells me so much about you. You're an achiever. Outstanding. So let's begin by working backwards in terms of how did you get here today? Give me some insight to your background, upbringing, and why did you travel to the UK?
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I am from Jamaica, and my father was a minister of religion. I was brought up in the Christian atmosphere, and having known the Lord from I was the early age of 16, in my studies I had always wanted to become a nurse. So I migrated to United Kingdom in 1961 to study nursing. Of course, when I finished my nursing training, I went to live in Brixton in Lambeth, and that's really history.
So I understand that you became a chaplain. So can you expand on that and explain how did you become a chaplain?
I went on to study theology. After I got married, I thought, and having children, I thought I need to study theology and to know how to be a good Christian. I studied theology for 5 years, actually. And when I was being graduated, I went on to apply for a vacancy in Whipps Cross University Hospital, where I became one of the chaplains. I think after I did 5 years at Whipps Cross, and I realized that there was needs for me to address in the borough of Lambeth. Of course, I was living in Lambeth, and I went on to become a member of the Brixton Council of Churches. Subsequently to that, I was being made to become the vice chair, and in 1982 I became the chairperson for the council. So I went on during the riot we had in Brixton to become one that championed the cause of the black people, because there was this problems with the police and the Afro-Caribbean youth, of which I taught with my experience as a chaplain, as a minister of religion. There's something I can offer.
Fantastic. So you became the mediator. And the riots was back in 1985 in Brixton, I recall.
True, until our second riot was 1985, 82 and 85. Thereupon we have had a conference with the police and other minister of religion and the British Council of Churches. This was being held at St. Matthew's Church, which is an Anglican church in the square of Brixton. And there was interest there, of which, with my experience as a minister of religion, I was privileged to travel throughout England, really, to address various council meetings and to express to them how we were able to achieve an understanding between the black, the young boys, and of course young girls was being involved as well, and also the police. And so I become that person that would able to bring about some understanding.
What really impressed me is that you did something that was very unique, that you became a president of a very, very unique initiative. Would you like to expand on that for me?
Yes, I became the president for, first of all, for the Black Pastors Conference. And subsequently to that, our name was being changed to the Joint Council of Churches Together of All Nations, of which it allows me to have certain clout, so to speak, with other church denominations. I was duly elected in 2001, 2002, to become the president, the first black woman president of the Churches Together in England, which is a national organization of churches of different denominations coming together to have a ecumenical dialogue, which was very essential. I also represented at the time the Quakers and also the Lutheran Church, which is of course based from Germany, right, and the black majority churches. So that gave me a lot of opportunities to address the concerns in all parties, because I see myself as an ecumenist, one that be able to talk things through with other denominations.
Besides receiving your MBE, you also became Woman of the Year. Can you explain why you were awarded Woman of the Year? I do believe the year was 2001.
I suppose it's all a combination of things that I do, I think. Why I was being elected. It was amazing. It was amazing, and that, of course, allows me to become a member of various organizations in this country. At one time, I was member of the Inner City Religious Council, which is, of course, it's a government body, yes, addressing racial issues and religious issues as well. So I was in a key position, and of course, being elected to become one of the in the National Portrait Gallery, which is I'm a sitter at the National Portrait Gallery, which I am the only black leader. My message would be to have faith in oneself and also to have faith in God, and of aim of how best you can serve your communities. And that in itself, I think, would enable you to address various issues that is prevalent in our time. My celebrating success across different profilee today is Cheryl Jumbo. And Cheryl is the founder and CEO of the Black Beauty and Fashion Awards. They've got their second big event coming up. So I'll let Cheryl tell us all about it.
Thank you so much for having me today, Dr. Doirean. So the Black Beauty and Fashion Awards was an awards for manufacturers of black beauty, fashion and wellness products that was born out of a feeling of social exclusion. As a cosmetic scientist working in a laboratory for various different types of companies, I began to notice that there was a gap in the market. And as a black woman of African heritage and going to various different types of African events, there's a process involved which includes buying luxurious, elaborate fabrics, having your measurements taken, and a specific outfit created just for you. And also in terms of the beauty aspect and the hair, so much goes into it. Some could say it's a ritual. And I thought, as a British citizen, I contribute massively to the UK economy through my hair and beauty needs, but somehow I'm not represented. So I thought, why don't we have an awards for manufacturers of the types of products that I use? What are the best products out there? Or who should I be championing and patronizing with my money here in the UK? And so I launched it on the 11th of July 2017 at the Houses of Parliament. We invited a number of esteemed guests. Yourself was one of them.
So I'm very privileged.
Thank you.
Speaker then.
Thank you very much. And you did an amazing job. So we had some wonderful people who were part of the industry and also supporting, I guess, the community and individuals who were focused on helping to push forward the black community in a positive way and help to change our narrative. We're part of that. So it was a fantastic day because I could see that there was a space for this movement here in the United Kingdom. And so we had our first award show in 2018. We had entrants from companies all across the world, from Canada, America, various parts of Africa, other parts of Europe like Amsterdam. And so they entered their products into various categories. I had a panel of judges as well as the public who took the time to vote on which products they thought were the best products. And they all turned up and celebrated their innovation, their ingenuity, and their hard work that year on year for the last maybe 10 or 20 years had not been acknowledged. So it was great to bring everyone together and to celebrate black excellence within manufacturing. At the heart of the Black Beauty and Fashion Awards, I would say it's an economic empowerment movement. One of the things that I stumbled across accidentally during the process of my research for the awards was that not only are we excluded in terms of the advertising and the placement within the mainstream media, but that we have a serious economic issue when it came to where the money was going that was spent on the cosmetics that we purchased. And so it became very important for me to support entrepreneurism and share some of the success stories of the past with the current generation in a hope of mobilizing them to take a stance and become part of the change that we need to see.
Which is fantastic. What better than investing in your own community, our community, and by also acknowledging in terms of recognition with the awards that you've been giving out. I was at the first event, so
Yes.
I know, and I was a recipient, so I was flabbergasted to be a recipient. But it just reminded me of my early days as a facial model for natural beauty products. So I was the face that launched natural beauty for Dyke and Dryden all those years ago. So fast forward, here we are, 2020, and what you're doing is absolutely fantastic. So tell me, why did you become a scientist? What motivated you to become a scientist?
That's a very good question, actually. It wasn't in my sights at all. So my mother was a midwife, my father was an economist, and so my mother had many medical books that she left around the house. And so I began to be intrigued by the biology and, the human system. And so I actually thought I'd be a doctor, but realized that there's a very morbid side to it and my personality. I needed something more creative. So I went shopping one day after starting a diploma in sound engineering, actually. And it was during that shopping trip that I met a fascinating woman who took a personal interest in what I was studying and working on and, what my 5 or 10 year plan was. And I told her that I was studying engineering, and she just looked at me and said, no, no, you belong in the beauty industry. And from that moment, I just started to think about it. I'm a very open person. And so I thought, let me explore what this lady's talking about. Beauty, it seems so superficial. And I was an engineer. I wanted something that I could get creative and get into the inner workings of. And just fortunately, there was a degree which was in its second year at the London College of Fashion, and it was a cosmetic science degree. And so I decided to work part-time as a beauty consultant for Fashion Fair Cosmetics, actually. Yes, some fond memories. And it was during that time that the course was established. And so I went along to the open day, found out more about it, and realized that it was a culmination of all the things I liked. The biology that I had found a fondness for when I was in my youth, and the engineering, so the chemical compounds. It's hugely focused and based around chemistry. So there was that side of it. And then there was the creative side. So you have to imagine products ultimately working with the marketing departments of a company. You work together, the research and development and the marketing team work together to figure out what can we offer the consumers that's going to make an impact. So it started to encapsulate all of the things that I was fond of and I had a passion for.
Absolutely fantastic. So, where are you, if you could see yourself in the next 5 years, where would you be?
Wow. Okay. In 5 years' time, so I recently set up a social enterprise called Jumbo Prospects. So it's a social enterprise that works with young, at-risk, disadvantaged people aged between 14 and 25. And the tagline is transforming lives through beauty and fashion. And so for me, new product development is a fantastic process that can teach you so much. And what I'm hoping is over the next few years, I will be able to expose a number of young people and introduce them to the new product development aspect. So we talked about research and development, formulation, manufacturing, retail, distribution. So there must be a place within that whole process that would appeal to the young person. And also through that process, they're able to acquire soft skills as well as hard skills. And so I'm hoping within the next 5 years that I would have helped a multitude of young people to find their calling in life and feed that back into the ecosystem of the Black Beauty and Fashion Awards and maybe produce some award-winning businesses through Jumbo Prospects.
Fantastic. And if you could give a message to the viewers, all those young people out there, like you, from Black minority ethnic background, or Black and minority ethnic background, what would that message be that you feel would help to inspire them to achieve?
I would say that nothing in this life happens by accident and that you must trust in your journey. Yeah, I would say to elaborate a little bit, I would say to just trust that wherever you're heading is a good place, that you're going to become whatever you need to be at the end of this journey, because ultimately you are having a human experience and it's a limited experience in terms of the time. So just trust in that journey and work hard at whatever it is that you want to achieve, and it will happen for you.
Fantastic. And one final question.
Yes.
Barriers. You must have experienced them.
My barriers have been personal barriers. I haven't really had too many people stand in my way. And I think that it's about overcoming some of your the thoughts that you have, learning to be a positive person. Sometimes life can get you down and it's rising above them. So I see that I am the person to emancipate myself from all of these kind of personal issues that can arise in life. And I feel great and grateful that I'm able to overcome my personal challenges to reach my own personal goals.